Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs, and the room is stutters. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, cause I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah.
Hey y'all. Welcome to a new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy. Happy Monday night. Of course, Monday Night Raw has just gone off. So, of course, if you are watching this now, then thank you so much for staying up with me while I talk about all the ins and outs of professional wrestling. And of course, if you're going to watch this later, then feel free to on the YouTube channel. But either way, HWP is here and live in full effect with the vibes. Of course, I'm your girl, Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of this fabulous platform of HWP Extra and co host of Steph and Cat Talk Wild with Katrina from In Cat We Trust, contributing writer for Daily DDT, and color commentator featured on various promotions such as the Belladonna Division, Battle Club Pro, Black Girl Magic 2022, and Spartan Wrestling. And I am so happy to be before you here again on another episode to talk about all of the craziness that's going on in professional wrestling because we are on the road to two different pay-per-views. AEW has Full Gear coming up this weekend, and then next weekend WWE has Survivor Series War Games. So, in the midst of everything that's happening, I just wanted to come before y'all to share my feelings on a lot of things that have been happening in professional wrestling as a whole, and just new things that I've been watching and embracing that has professional wrestling in it. So, I'm so happy to be before you guys on tonight. So, we're going to start with news and gossipish. And we're starting with something on a little bit of a somber note. And it comes in the form of someone in wrestling who is definitely a pioneer, who is just now getting her flowers, but it just so happens to be when it's too late. And it is Miss Sandy Parker. Now, for those of you who may or may not know who she is, Sandy Parker was pro wrestling's first black female and out LGBTQ world champion. And it was and last week it was made public and known that she had passed away at the age of 77 in June of 2022. Now, it was very troubling for a lot of people in wrestling because she was such a pioneer, and that there were people who were close to her who used to wrestle with her, who tried to get in contact with her, but could not reach her at all, which is how she was able to get, which is how the information went public that she had passed away. For over 2 years, no one outside of her who may have been with her in her final days knew that she had passed away. And pro wrestling writer and historian Jamie Greer learned that Parker was scheduled to go to the hospital for a week of tests when he contacted her to schedule an interview for his forthcoming book, Killers, Butchers, Crybabies, and Canadian Destroyers: Pro Wrestling in Windsor, Ontario, Canada in late June of 2022. And he stated that she was so excited to talk about her career, and they had made a date to talk in a week, and a week went by and I called her and there was no answer. I tried every day for a week and no answer, and about 3 weeks later her phone was disconnected and I could not call anymore. So in the midst of all of this, and with the news being made public last week, a lot of people chimed in on social media to pay their respects to this woman who was very brave about being herself during a time of which it was already tough being a black woman in the wrestling business, even though she was from Canada. But here again, as an American, as a United States citizen, I don't know the ups and downs that black people had to face in Canada. But at the same time, just the idea of her being a black woman and trying to make it in this business, being who she is, but yet making history and persevering anyway, is enough for us to give her flowers here. So, here at the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, we want to extend our condolences to her friends and family. Though it has been 2 years, we still want to extend our heartfelt condolences to her and her family and friends, and to just continue to keep them lifted with good thoughts and prayers, and to always speak her name and to always remember her being one of the four women of black women in wrestling as a whole, because without her you don't have Mercedes Monet and you don't have the Athenas and the Naomis and Jade Cargills of the world. So we definitely send good prayers and good thoughts to her and her family. And I hope that whatever journey that she took to the other side was an easy one. And I hope that she is resting in perfect peace right now. And I just wanted to talk about that because that was very important for me to address here. So, moving into lighter news, we had Bailey talking about and weighing in about her excitement over the newly commissioned WWE Women's United States Championship. She stated in an interview that nobody behind the scenes knew about the introduction of the championship. In speaking with Headliner Chicago, she said nobody knew that that was happening. So, in a way, it was really cool to be surprised. And I was just happy that I was in front of a monitor when it was happening. I was in the middle of a meeting with one of my bosses and it just popped up. I heard Nick Aldis talk about the women and I was like, hold on, please, can we just watch this real quick? I'm so happy I caught it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been around a monitor because there was so much going on. But I'm really excited for all of us. Now, of course, Bailey would be put in the tournament to see who would be crowned as the first women's United States champion, and she is going on to the semifinal round. And she had a stellar match against Candice LeRae and B-Fab, who had a great showing as well. So it's really amazing how she was even surprised by the news. I know I kind of was, even though I did see people on Twitter sort of ruminating over the idea that this championship could be a thing, but it's been rumored to have existed and have been conceptualized for years, but no one had ever announced that it was actually going to become real. So the idea that you're watching a SmackDown one night and then all of a sudden, boom, here it is. You're just really excited about it. And I was screaming to the top of my lungs because I've of course, being an advocate for equal treatment for women in wrestling, I was so excited to see this title come to fruition. And it is such a beautiful title. It looks just like the men's title, which is a sign of equality, even though I know some people online were complaining that it did, kind of look like the men's title and that it wasn't as creative. But you have to remember the point of the women's titles is to be equal on the level of the men's. So that's the reason why they all essentially look like each other. So I was just really thrilled to see it with my favorite white strap, and I was just so excited that it exists. And, it's opening up more opportunity and more doors for women who aren't in the main title pictures. And I am just so grateful that it is happening. I'm so grateful that there is so much more for the women to fight for. And they did keep mentioning how the Raw women are going to be able to fight for this title along with the SmackDown women. But as of yet, in this tournament, there have only been SmackDown women on inside of the tournament. So I guess we just have to wait and see how that's going to coalesce. But either way, I am just so pumped that this title exists. And of course, if you want to read more of what I had to say about it, you can go on dailyddt.com and read my article that I wrote in August of this year called WWE Needs Women's Mid Card Titles, where I discuss all of the reasons why it could be, amazing for all of the women in on all three brands, because we were able to see how it works in NXT with the women's North American title. We were sort of able to see how it could work when Becky Lynch held the NXT women's title herself and defended it on all three brands. So now we're getting a really great test run here. So please read this article on Daily DDT, and I'm just so happy to be one of those people who helped to manifest it into being. So big ups to WWE for that big move. Also, in other news, Mandy Rose, or formerly, or Miss Ma'am, formerly known as Mandy Rose, whose real name is Amanda Sacamano, got married to her now husband Sabi Piscatelli in a French chateau wedding. These two have been engaged since 2022, and in an exclusive for People magazine, they had pictures of their wedding ceremony, and these two people looked absolutely beautiful and fabulous and all of the things. They got married on on Saturday, November the 2nd at the Park Chateau Estate and Gardens in East Brunswick, New Jersey, joined by 215 guests, which included former NFL linebacker Ray Lewis, MMA fighter Rashad Evans, and fellow WWE wrestlers Sonya Deville, who is of course Mandy Rhodes' business partner and best friend, CJ Perry, formerly known as Lana, Indy Hartwell, Cora Jade, JC Jane, and NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez. So this was all of these pictures that were posted on People Magazine, you can go on there and look, have been absolutely amazing. Mandy Rose, who has just always been a gorgeous, gorgeous woman, made a fantastic and stunning bride, and her groom looked absolutely impeccable as well. So if you want to go on people.com and look up those pictures, you can, or go on those social media platforms and look at those pictures, you can as well. They're definitely enjoying themselves on their honeymoon. So I just want to send out congratulations to these two because they've been together since I believe 2015. So now they are absolutely joined at the hip as husband and wife, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for the both of these beautiful, beautiful people. So congrats to the both of them. Now, moving on to other news and gossipish, we have the New Day being posted on YouTube, on WWE's YouTube channel. They were talking about their best and worst wrestling gear because, of course, their 10th anniversary is coming up next week. And in the coming weeks, they will be having a Raw episode that is absolutely and fully dedicated to their 10 years as one of the greatest stables in all of professional wrestling. So, in the midst of this, they had a video where they were talking about all of their best and worst gear that they've had through the years. And of course, here's just two of them. I'm only sharing two of my favorites. They told the story of this gear, which was for Black History Month during the SmackDown Live era. And I absolutely love this because I love kente cloth. And of course, Kofi Kingston told the significance of kente cloth for him because he is, of course, from Ghana, West Africa. And that is the country where kente cloth was made, was originated from. So the fact that they had their gear maker, Jonathan Davenport, design this for them for Black History Month was absolutely impeccable, and it was beautiful and representative to me of Black heritage. And I just love that they were able to wear that and represent that. It also looks exactly like one of my stoles that I had on at graduation when I graduated from college. It was just so amazing to see that. I just love African fabrics. So the fact that they were able to talk about that in this video was really interesting. And then, of course, they talked about their Dragon Ball Z gear that they had at WrestleMania in Texas in 2016, where they poured themselves out of a giant box of Bootios. So they just talked about a lot of their favorite gears, including the Basquiat gear they had when Kofi Kingston won his WWE Championship at WrestleMania, and so many other gears as well. So if you have not checked that out on WWE's YouTube channel, please do, because it was such an amazing watch. So please go on there and watch that. It's relatively short, but if you want to celebrate the new day as much as you possibly can at this point, um go on there and watch it, because it was very precious and it just takes you back down memory lane from when they first started to, of course, where they are now. And it was good to see Big E with them in the video too, because on the shows you only see Xavier and Kofi together. And it was just nice to see all three of them back together again. So yeah, that was nice. And speaking more in news and gossipish, you had a boatload of wrestling fans at NXT last week holding up signs calling for the hiring of the Tonga twins, Ashley and Stephanie, to be signed by Shawn Michaels to NXT. Now, of course, if you watch my show with Katrina called Steph and Cat Talk Wow, or if you watched us in another site, you know that we've been covering women of wrestling for the past few years. And two of those women that we have been happy to cover through their growth have been the Tonga twins when they were known as Chaos and Kona. And they were former WoW Tag Team Champions, of course, until they left WoW this year. And when it comes to their wrestling careers, they really have been a little active, but not completely active due to life stuff. But we continue to support them and love them throughout their journey. And they've been posting about their interests in, participating in different wrestling storylines going on in various promotions. But this fan, I forgot to save his name, and I meant to, but I forgot to save it in my phone. This fan right here got a collection of his friends down in Florida to create some signs that say, "We want the Tonga twins," and calling for the signing of them to NXT by Shawn Michaels. And they shared it. Ashley and Stephanie both shared it on their social media. And I thought that was absolutely amazing for them to do and very sweet of them to do, because these women are so very talented and they're very tough. And they have the distinction of also having that twin factor that, of course, the Garcia slash Bella twins had, while also being absolutely tough and having that Pacific Islander je ne sais quoi. So if they got hired on to NXT, it would be absolutely fire, and it would add a lot more depth and strength to the tag division on all sides. So I'm definitely here for them getting signed to NXT or to wherever they choose to go. So big ups to the Chonga twins, and big ups to those NXT fans who held those signs up calling for their hiring, because they're watching us and they are listening to the people. So for all we know, we could be manifesting great things for them. So big ups to the Tonga twins, and big ups to these fans for piping up for them a whole lot more at this point, because the doors of wrestling are always open. So it should be open for these talented girls. So yeah. Moving forward in women's wrestling, you have Mercedes Monet, the TBS and New Japan Strong Women's Champion, chiming in on how she feels about a possible all women's event for AEW, or an all women's weekly show. So she spoke on Battleground Podcast and explained how amazing it could be if there was an idea for an all women show. She said, and I quote, "Wow, a weekly show? Absolutely. We have the talent, so why not? All elite women's wrestling? There you go. We have the best women's wrestling from Willow, Mariah May, the AEW Women's World Champion, Tony Storm, Serena Deeb, Chris Statlander, Camille. There is definitely an opportunity to have an all women show every single week, so I don't see why not." Now, this quote was very interesting to hear from her, because it can be argued that since she was signed to AEW, the women have been featured a whole lot more prominently than they had been on AEW before. And it's really not a secret at this point that Mercedes Monet has been an active advocate for women getting equal time because this is what she's always wanted. And she's definitely a pioneer of it in the modern age as one of the four horse women. And I have also been a person who felt like AEW could have an all female show because at one point, when there was a rumor about them possibly creating another show outside of Collision or maybe outside of Rampage, or if they wanted to redo Rampage, I always felt like Rampage could very well be an all women show because you could take all the women from AEW and all the women from Ring of Honor and put them on for an entire hour. Kind of like WoW, except it's with AEW and Ring of Honor. And I know it's a pretty radical idea in terms of mainstream television in that way, because you do wonder if it's going to be live or if it's going to be taped the way that Rampage is. But at the same time, I figure why not, take the risk? If you're the second largest wrestling promotion in the country, then why not do an all women show? Like what would be stopping you at this point? But there's another part of me that feels a little bit shy about it due to the fact that the last time Tony Khan, AEW CEO, Booker, and all the things, decided to let women be a part of another all female show in the form of NWA's Empower, he felt like he should be given a pat on the back for that or given lots of credit for it as opposed to just wanting the best for these women and just not trying to give himself credit for it. So I don't know where his heart or his head is at now with it because of course that was in 2021. It's 2024. People can evolve and change. But at the same time, I do want there to be some authenticity behind it if it is going to happen. So, I'm glad that Mercedes Monet spoke up and said something about it. Who knows, in the future, we could see it from AEW because the talent is definitely there. You do have Red Velvet, who is the ROH TV women's champion, who could get more visibility that way. You have Athena, who is still the Ring of Honor women's world champion, who could get more visibility from that and who could very well challenge Mercedes at some point. And basically all those women could benefit from more television time. But in the meantime, in between time, Miss Mercedes has two big matches on the horizon. She will be defending the New Japan Strong Women's Championship against someone who she's faced before in Hazuki at Strong Style Evolve in December. She has fought her before because she fought her in a triple threat match against her and Azumi during her New Japan run as the IWGP Women's Champion. So I'm more than sure that this match is going to be really fire, and I'm really excited about that. And coming up, she will be going up against Chris Statlander for the TBS Championship because they are in a heated feud right now, and Full Gear is happening this weekend. So she has her card full. So in the midst of her, bigging up more opportunities for these women, she is also creating the being the opportunity by holding all of the gold and fighting against women who want to, try their luck against the greatest of all time. So big ups to Mercedes for all that she's doing in AEW, and I'm just really excited about that. But speaking more about Mercedes Monet, we have Cleo Thomas. Now, for those who, this is a little bit outside of the wrestling world, but Cleo Thomas is an actor. If you've watched the movie Disney's Holes with Shia LaBeouf, he played the character of Zero when he was a little kid. Now, of course, he's grown now, but he is also a really big wrestling fan. And he made it publicly known in an interview that he has watched, well, let me be clear. He had an interview and he appeared on Conversations with the Wrestling Classic, and big ups to Justin because I met him. He's out of Canada and he makes amazing content. During the interview, he admitted that he watched the classic match between Bayley and Mercedes Monet as Sasha Banks from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn at least 100 times. And he stated, when you talk about the Sasha Banks era at NXT, immediately connecting with the fact that she believed she was all in, and I mean that damn NXT Brooklyn match, that takeover match between her and Bayley, I've watched that match like at least 100 times, he said. They beat the hell out of each other. the crowd and the atmosphere, it was perfection. And then elsewhere in the interview, he ranked his feelings about the four horsewomen, saying Charlotte being number one for him, and Sasha being number two, Bailey being number three, and Becky Lynch being number four. So it was really cool to hear Cleo Thomas, aka Zero, talk about his feelings about professional wrestling. He's even been featured in WWE's This Is Awesome show on Peacock before, and seeing him weigh in about the greatest women's wrestling match of all time, which is really refreshing to hear because, of course, you do hear about so many women's wrestlers who watched that match and call that the catalyst for why they wanted to start wrestling as a whole and start their wrestling dreams. But to hear, more men being open and talking about the match is just really amazing in and of itself as well. And it's just really great that this match, that these women chose to be so excellent, even when it wasn't expected of them to be. And just now, how it just changed the trajectory of how people see women's wrestling now forever. And I will always be proud of them for that. I will always hold this match near and dear to my heart. Um, because, like I've said on previous episodes, I did a college project in communications class on this wrestling match, and it just inspired me to just push through my senior year of at Berea College. So it'll always hold a special place in my heart forever. And I'm just really happy that there are other people who also feel that way as well. So that's all for news and gossipish, which is a really great way to end. And let's go into my special segment. So, with this special segment, I wanted to take some time to talk about a TV show that has made its debut on Cartoon Network slash Adult Swim, and it's also on Max for streaming, and that's Invincible Fight Girl. And I want to take some time over the next few weeks to talk about each episode as it goes on. I know that there are like three or maybe four episodes out now on streaming, but I'm going to be watching it at my own pace because my life is just busy and all over the place. So I started watching the first episode of Invincible Fight Girl, and I just fell in love with it. This is a show that's centered on a young woman named Andy, who wants to be a professional wrestler. She had this dream since she was a child about being a professional wrestler after her parents took her to a wrestling show and she watched a woman fight a man. And her parents thought it was the craziest and dumbest thing that they had ever dedicated their time to. While at the same time, she absolutely loved it and held on to her wrestling ticket, like the paper ticket. She held on to it and taped it to her wall along with the poster. And she bought a videotape where there were these two men teaching you how to wrestle and how to lock in like an ankle lock. So that was her dream. But the thing about Andy is that she grew up in a family of accountants because her family lives on an island called Accountant Isle. So basically everybody on this island just deals with accountant stuff. Like basically they just grew up to be accountants, tax specialists, like all the things involving math and numbers and business. That's what they were trained to do. And on her first day, in accountant school, I believe, or at least on one of the days where she was supposed to graduate or something like that, um, her as a junior accountant was being assigned to do tax work for these wrestlers that were coming in. And she was really excited because she was like, oh, this is my chance. I get to ask some of these wrestlers some questions so I can see if I have what it takes to be a wrestler. And it explodes from there, in which she winds up fighting these people who come in there trying to start mess with a lot of her accountant friends. And they're called the Perm Gang, which was just really funny and very outlandish for a cartoon. And in the end, she winds up fighting them and just finding her inner strength as she's fighting these people, who are bullying um her tax friends as well. And she finds out that, maybe she does have what it takes from within. Though she might not have like all of the skills, she has a lot of the willpower and the determination and the spirit and the drive
to be a wrestler simply because she just has what it takes. And she winds up getting a pep talk from this elderly lady, when she's feeling down about herself, that tells her, look, you can't nobody give you permission to be a wrestler. Either you are one or you're not. And she finds out, even though she's getting beat up by this wrestler, by the leader of the perm gang, Immaculate, um she winds up finding out that she does have what it takes to be a wrestler after she locked in this one move that she knew, which was basically like an ankle lock. And she almost made the guy tap out and everything. That she knew she had what it took. And when her parents saw her, they were absolutely flabbergasted at what their child was doing. And that's essentially how the first episode ended. And this episode really touched me in a very deep way because it reminded me, number one, of the episode of Dexter's Laboratory and how Monkey for in Dial M for Monkey with his superhero persona had to fight Rasslor, who was an alien that wrestled, who was voiced by Macho Man Randy Savage. And this cartoon gave me that feeling of watching a cartoon that I knew that I was gonna love, while also mixing it in with another world that I know I love too, which was wrestling. And that's just how it made me feel. It made me feel like a big 90s kid again. And it's so impeccably animated, and the voice actors are fantastic. Two of the voice actors I've actually been following for a number of years now, because Andy's mother is played by Angel Lakita Moore. So if you watch anything Kev on Stage related, she is so hilarious. She's a co-host of Here's the Thing, and she's also an actress. She voices Andy's mom, and she's really funny. And then the voice of Immaculate was comedian Tony Baker. And he is amazing too. And if you've been online over the past maybe 5 to 10 years, you've heard their voices before, and his voiceovers for animals, and stuff like that. So it was just really cool to have all of that tied in to this one cartoon and all this excellence. And the idea that this was created by a black man, named, I believe, Justin Montgomery, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it's just amazing with this protagonist also being a black girl. It's just very important, in terms of representation, because for a very long time, and even to some degree now, when it comes to wrestling, the representation is mainly male, and it's mainly little boys, and it's not really geared towards girls in that way. And the idea that this show exists, this cartoon exists, it's just astounding in and of itself. And I hope that it gets more episodes and more seasons, and that Andy gets to have a very fleshed out journey as it continues to go on. And I just believe it's very important for this show to exist at this point in time. Um, because in a world where people try to pretend that, oh, well, if you have this person of color as a character, then you're just trying to be woke, or you're just trying to fill a quota, or you're just trying to be DEI and all of that. Um, it's great for creatives to just press through that and push through that negativity and say, no, this is necessary. There are black women and other women of color who see themselves in wrestlers all the time, and there is an audience that needs to be fed into. There are little girls who deserve to be fed into with that as well. So if you have not watched Invincible Fight Girl, I suggest you do. Please watch it. It, like I said, you can watch it on streaming on Max, and it also comes on Adult Swim on Cartoon Network. So please watch it there, and please just support it as much as you can, so it can continue to grow as a television show, and we can get more seasons of it, because it's absolutely important. And then, of course, it got to me in another way, because she was watching videotapes of the training of with the two men teaching you how to do like an ankle lock. And of course, in my life, the way that I got into wrestling was watching videotapes with my dad. So, on a very emotional level, it just really got me. And it was just really nice. So please support Invincible Fight Girl. And I will be talking about episode 2 in my next episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. So please check it out. So yeah, I just wanted to come on here and love on the first episode because it was just really, really good. So yeah, gotta love representation in wrestling, y'all, especially even in cartoons. It's cool. And don't let nobody tell you if you're an adult that you shouldn't be watching cartoons. Let's just say that too, because there are some adults out here who try to make it seem like, oh, well, you're too old to be watching cartoons. Like if you're like 22 or 22 and up, they make it seem like you ain't got no business watching cartoons unless you're watching it with your children or something like that. No, if it makes you happy, watch your cartoons, please. If you want to do a nostalgic binge watching of your favorite cartoon that you watched as a child, do that. If you have a cartoon that you like to watch even now in your adulthood, do that. Don't let nobody stop you because you got to make yourself happy in this world. So watch your cartoons and don't let nobody talk you out of it. Boom. Okay. So now we're going to move into what I liked in wrestling this week. And because Monday Night Raw did just go off, I'm going to include elements of this episode that just went off and last week's episode as I continue to talk about everything I liked in wrestling last week, as well as, what we saw tonight. So, last week, we saw the return of Dakota Kai after being injured by the Pure Fusion Collective. And it was just really good to see her because she was actually able to fight side by side with her Damage Control sisters, Io Sky and Kairi Sane, against Pure Fusion Collective. And even on tonight, they had a whole segment um, of her talking about, what her motivations are as she continues to fight for her place in the women's division on Raw. And it was very heartfelt because she was talking about how at one point during her injury she sort of had to deal with self-doubt and wondering, if the women's division has passed her by or if she even has a place in it. But she wants to prove that she can very well be a champion here. And I think that was absolutely great to hear on tonight. So big ups to Dakota Kai. I'm so happy that she's back. She is very talented. And even though Damage Control has been doing a lot of the tag team stuff, since Bailey has separated from them or whatnot, I'm hoping that somewhere down the line you'll have like maybe Dakota Kai and the other women will have something else to fight for, like maybe another mid card title, um, like the maybe a women's intercontinental title or something else like that on Raw, or maybe they'll get into the flow of things on SmackDown too to challenge for the U.S. title. You never know, but Dakota Kai is definitely one of those women who could stand to have an opportunity like that. So I'm happy to see her back. That was really cool. Also, last week you had Liv Morgan going up, well, along with Raquel Rodriguez, her muscle, going up against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill for the women's tag team titles, and they lost. Nothing more to say there. Um, as you can see in this picture, you have Liv Morgan sort of being splattered by Jade with her jaded move and all of the above. But of course, Liv and Raquel got really angry and they decided to go on SmackDown this past Friday and attack Bianca and Jade as they were watching Naomi fight Nia Jax for the women's championship, and they attacked them from behind because of course that's Liv's favorite thing to do, act all big and bad behind people's back, but then when they get in front of her she want to talk all big and bad but then look crazy when she gets knocked out. um yeah, that's basically what's been going on with her. And I'm just so happy that Bianca and Jade are still women's tag team champions. And if I had it my way, if they were, not that I truly want them to lose the titles because I don't, um, but if I feel like if they were going to lose to a tag team, I would want them to maybe lose to Lash and Jakara, just so they could have their, you know, team on team fight that I wish they could have had on SmackDown that one time. But they didn't have for that long. So I was just really happy to see them retain against Liv and Raquel because I feel like Liv and Raquel really don't need anything else considering Liv is already a double champion at this point and she has the Judgment Day and she has everything she could possibly want, blah blah blah. I just feel like at this point she's just being greedy. Um, but that greediness, of course, would come to bite her in the behind because Rhea Ripley came back tonight with a face mask and yelled at Liv War Games. So now the War Games match is official, and I don't have the graphic for it yet, but I am happy that that match is happening next week. It's gonna be lit. So yeah, you have these four fabulous women and Rhea Ripley on Team Belair or Team Rhea. And then, of course, you have Liv, Raquel, Nia, Tiffany, and Candice for their heel team for War Games. So it's going to be lit. I'm so excited about next week. It's going to be cool. So we're pushing the agenda of a women's intercontinental championship title. Big ups to this person who conceptualized how it would look with the white strap if the women had one. I'm really here for it. So shout out to this artist who did it. Um, I'm not taking any credit for it. So yeah, I'm hoping that somewhere down the line this does happen. And if this does happen, then I'm truly hoping that the first person in line for it will be Zelina Vega. Point blank, period. Zelina, forever. Now, moving into Raw and the men, you have Damian Priest. Something that I am really loving about this iteration of Damian Priest since he's been loosened from the clutches of the Judgment Day is that we are hearing more and more of his street and New York accent come out. In his promo last week against Gunther, when I tell you the New York was jumping out and out and out multiple times, it was popping out multiple times, but I enjoyed it because as a Southern woman, I just enjoy hearing other people and other people of different backgrounds speak because it's just refreshing. So hearing him in his New York accent, was just like, yes, like he means what he says. He's going back to the roots that he knows. And I just love hearing him speak to Gunther in that way and let him know, like, look, I mean business. Don't think that just because you caught me slipping at SummerSlam, don't mean that I'm just not going to give you a run for your money when I challenge you for the World Heavyweight title. And I just love hearing him speak that way. And he even spoke that way tonight when he got attacked by Gunther backstage, but yet he got the better of him. So I'm just really here for this confident um gangster New Yorker Damien. I love it. I love it. I need more of it. Picasso, it's great. And something else that I'm just wondering about is not only am I wondering if Gunther is losing his confidence, but are him and Ludwig Kaiser possibly, coming to a parting of the ways? Because something that we are or have been seeing over the past few months is Ludwig Kaiser sort of jumping out on his own and getting on the microphone and speaking up not only for Gunther but also for himself for other opportunities, getting in beefs with people and fighting with people and showing more of what he can do other than being, Gunther's friend and confidant or whatever. But last week, when they got in each other's face like this, when Gunther was telling him, "Don't speak for me" and all of that, I was wondering. I was like, are they gonna break up soon? Because Ludwig, he kind of has what it takes to stand on his own. He really does. But I'm just wondering, like, how would it even look with Gunther without Imperium? Like, it's weird. So I don't know, but either way, I'm here for more of Ludwig speaking up and being his own man. But I'm just not sure if I'm ready to watch him and Gunther sort of split and go their separate ways. It's too much fighting going on between people who were just once upon a time so very tight. So hopefully they can figure that out soon. But yeah, it was really difficult to look at last week. But this week they seem to be, a little bit better, but we just gotta wait and see. Now, people who aren't better and are on the struggle bus is Xavier and Kofi. So as their 10th anniversary looms closer, these two just can't seem to get on the same page no matter how many times they try to. And one thing that I did like last week was Xavier wearing a Baron Corbin shirt. And something that I didn't get to fully address on the show was how a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but how a few people like Indy Hartwell, Tegan Knox, and Baron Corbin were released. And it was very surprising that Baron Corbin would get released, considering, he was, evolving so well, and just connecting with people and connecting with the fan base a whole lot more. So the idea of him not being with WWE anymore was just kind of interesting for me, even though we hadn't really seen much of him on TV lately. It was just still kind of odd. So to see Xavier wear this t-shirt of his was just really cool on his part. So big ups to him for that in real life. But when it comes to the struggles of the New Day, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Because even with Kofi's match against Pete Dunne and with Xavier trying to tell him what to do and Kofi not listening, you see how sassy and frustrated Xavier was looking on the apron. It was very sad. It was really angry and aggressive here. And it's just really just it's getting to be a little bit too much at this point. The tension, you could cut it with a knife. It's bad. And then even tonight, when it looked like they were, backstage and trying to reconnect and trying to, mend their fence or whatever, Xavier got offended because Kofi said, you just have to remember what the New Day is all about. But then Xavier took offense, was like, why is it just me? Why is it just me? And then he proceeds to take his aggression out on Otis and Akira Tozawa. And it was just really tough to watch. But the toughest thing to watch is to see Kofi, trying to make peace while also still wearing that Majin symbol necklace from Dragon Ball Z, which is still giving me the impression that he might do the turning. I am really just genuinely concerned and scared and heartbroken at what could possibly happen. Like, I don't know if it's gonna be Xavier to snap finally, or Kofi to snap finally, or what. But I feel like by the end of this month or by the beginning of December, New Day really might not be a thing anymore. And I just don't know how to deal with that. I don't know how to deal with that. I feel like us in the black community, we've been dealing with lots of losses lately. And the New Day being a loss, another loss would just be like, man, we just can't catch a break. We just cannot catch a break at all. The only break I feel like we have at this point is Beyonce doing the halftime show at Christmas Day. That's the only break we have at this point. And with Bianca and Jade and Naomi being back together as the big three in the War Games match. That's all. That's all we have. Otherwise, everything else is just like, it's just it's crazy. But oh my God, it's just so hurtful to watch them fight like this. So if they don't get it together, then just know I'm gonna be distraught and in tears, and you know, just pray for me because this is hard. It's really hard. So moving on, because if I continue to talk about it, I'm just gonna get even more upset. Yep, there it is again. We had Sami Zayn trying to get Seth freaking Rollins on Team OG Bloodline for War Games, and Seth basically told him, "Look, I understand your cause, but I'm not finna team with Roman when we worked so hard to take him down at WrestleMania." And he is absolutely right about that. And of course, there's also the inner baggage of him and Roman being together as family members, as the Shield and stuff. And of course, their anniversary just passed. I believe it was either yesterday or today, but their anniversary just passed. So the idea of all of this emotional stuff happening, um, with him and the Shield or whatnot, and him and with Sammy trying to say, "Oh, well, I need you. Like, we need you to be on our team," and Seth saying no, it's just like, okay, we'll see what happens. But of course, Friday, well, I'll get to it, but either way, Seth really might have to consider joining that team. We just gotta, yeah, it's gonna get real pretty soon. Now, this is the one feud that I am very interested in for all of the right reasons. And the Final Testament had been a little bit on the struggle bus lately in terms of trying to figure out what their place is going to be in Raw and stuff like that. But now it really seems like Karrion Cross is really leaning into being sort of like the dark angel on people's shoulder. And you could argue that he was the reason that Shinsuke went dark. He's definitely a part of the reason why Xavier was going dark so much because he said as much tonight. And then he got on the shoulder of The Miz. And now The Miz is all acting up wearing black suits and acting all, heelish Miz like he used to do back in the day and being all ruthless and attacking people. And now he's a part of the Final Testament and feeding into the attack on the Wyatt Six, which happened last week. And just when you thought he had gotten his common sense and said, no, y'all need to leave them alone, he has gotten too big for his britches now. And now he's gone full attack mode with the Final Testament on Uncle Howdy and them. So at this point, this is where my grandma would say that The Miz and Karrion Cross and them have met their daddy's drunk. And when she would say you've met your daddy's drunk, that means you have definitely bitten off more than you can chew. You have written a check that your ass can't catch and all of the things. Yeah, they think they big and bad now, but when all of the dark forces of the Wyatts come and eat them alive, yeah, it's not going to be fun at all. It's not going to be fun at all, and I'm not even going to feel sorry for them. Like, I feel like if Survivor Series War Games wasn't in like the regular pay-per-view format that their pay-per-views have been in over the past few months, I would argue that this could be a War Games match. The Final Testament versus the Wyatt Six, this could very well be a War Games match here. But I'm not going to bite off more than I can chew. But y'all saw that video that Bo Dallas made tonight. He said he's sorry for what's about to happen. And I'm here for it. The darkness is coming. Follow the buzzards. It's done. I am so excited. I'm so pumped. I just love it. It's going to be cool. Now, moving into what I loved from NXT last week, something that I absolutely am enjoying is that you have more of WWE's shows starting with women's matches or starting with women's segments and then ending with them as well. And this was something that I noticed from NXT at the 2300 arena when they were doing their ECW tribute episode. They started with with their women's hardcore match between Lola Vice and Jada Parker, and then ended with the 10-woman tag team match with Zarya, Stephanie Vaquer, Julia, Kalani Jordan, and Jordan Grace. So it's just amazing to see women's wrestling on this major of a platform just flourishing and just being excellent for no other reason than to just be excellent and highlight it. And just, I feel like this sort of set the precedent for it. And when I say that this episode saved my soul in more ways in which they will never know, it really did. To see women get this far in wrestling, it's just a blessing. And I know that, there's still so much improvement that can be made, I'm sure. Um, but for where we are now, it's just on this mainstream of a platform, especially here on this third brand, which is considered developmental. It's just absolutely enthralling. And I will say this from an ECW perspective, in this hardcore match, you had Dawn Marie, who's an ECW and a WWE Diva legend, right? And you have to think about the way in which women were portrayed on ECW a long time ago. They weren't necessarily portrayed the best. They weren't necessarily having hardcore matches like this. So to fast forward and go to the 2300 arena now, and for these women to be making history with the first hardcore match here, and then to bookend it with another great women's match in the 10-woman tag was just absolutely incredible. So it's just breathtaking to see women carrying wrestling and carrying in an industry during a time of which people just want to keep women in a box. It's just, it's inspiring. It's just really inspiring. So, yeah. But on last week's NXT, you had Julia and Stephanie getting a tag team action with Lash and Jakara. And when it comes to Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, I enjoy watching them as a tag team and how much they continue to grow. Um, I just want I just want Lash and Jakara to be tag team champions so freaking bad. So bad. I just feel it in my bones. I just feel it. I just want them to be tag champs so bad. This was such a good match. Considering you have Julia and Stephanie who by all accounts are more experienced than Lash and Jakar, but at the same time, Lash and Jakar were there for the challenge and they stepped up to it. And I just love this tag team match. It was so great and just so impressive. And here again, it started the episode. So it was just really amazing to see. But then after Julia and Stephanie won the match, they had to make peace with the idea that they might have to fight each other come NXT deadline. So it's just really enthralling stuff going on between those two. To watch them work together, but then also embrace the fact that they gonna have to fight and only one person can be champion. Yeah, let's go. And let's do it. So it's cool. Also, when it comes to the women, I love that Sol Ruka is now going to be a part of the Iron Survivor match. She qualified against Cora Jade last Tuesday, and she surfboarded onto her. And then more action when it comes to the women. And to when it comes to this one little love storyline, I'm gonna need for Carmen Petrovic and Ashanti the Adonis to just go ahead and admit that they like each other and stop fighting their feelings because I'm just tired of it because clearly Carmen gets bothered when she sees Ashanti with other girls. And she was really excited about the idea that he remembered her birthday or whatnot. So I'm really gonna need for them to just admit that they're digging on each other. And Brinley Reese was like, look, let's just do this mixed tag team match and just see how, this is gonna turn out. And they were acting like they didn't want to do it, but look, the chemistry is there. I see it. Make it happen. Make it happen. Be cute. Let's do it. Let's do some romance. I like it. Let's do it because it's cute. I like it. I like it a lot. So, yeah, it's funny. And with more women's action, of course, I enjoyed the match between Fallon Henley and Kalani Jordan for the NXT Women's North American title. Of course, Kalani wanted to get her lick back for Fatal Influence, of course, cheating for Fallon, which caused her to lose the title and everything. And she definitely wanted to win to get it back. But I think Kalani's biggest mistake was being so fired up that she wasn't necessarily thinking of a strategy to take down all of Fatal Influence so the odds could be even. So now Fallon Henley is still the champion, and now she has to be left to refocus on things. But my thing is, Kalani Jordan will always have my heart because she was the first one. She was the first ever women's North American champion, and nobody could ever take that away from her. But I think now is time to shift her focus. A couple of weeks ago, I made a post saying that there had only ever been two black female NXT Women's Champions, and that's Mercedes Moné and Athena. And I feel like Kalani Jordan should be NXT Women's Champion and possibly be the third black NXT Women's Champion. If not the third, maybe the fourth after Jada Parker, who knows? But either way, I'm just gonna need for another black woman to actually be NXT Women's Champion, and Kalani Jordan is definitely up there because we know like she's growing her character. She definitely gets better and better by leaps and bounds in the ring, and she can carry a title. We've seen her carry this brand new title. So by all means, make her NXT Women's Champion. Like she should definitely be high on the list to do that. So Kalani girl, you don't have anything to be ashamed of, but it might be time to shift your focus to Deadline so you can possibly be the third black NXT Women's Champion. So let's make some more history, girl. Let's do it. Now, when it comes to the men of NXT, the tag team division seems to be just going crazy. Um, of course, Ava wants to see which tag team is going to step up to the plate to challenge Nathan, Frazier, and Axiom, who have their own set of problems going on with communication. But all of these men are ready to step up to the plate and challenge for those titles. But the two people that I was very disappointed to see missing, even though I don't know what's going on with them, was Malik Blade and Idris Inofe. Those are two talented brothers. They're absolutely amazing, and their chemistry is on fire. So, for the life of me, I just want to know where they are and how come they're not active. And how come they aren't challenging Nathan Frazier and Axiom? I know that they've probably fought them before, but at the same time, they were really fresh and really talented. So, I'm going to need for them to step up and pop back up into this tag division and really try their best because it's not that I'm not here for any of these other men in the tag division, but I was just really sad not to see them in the mix. So, yeah, they were going crazy and they ended the show after Kalani and Fallon's match for the title, and they were fighting and brawling all over the arena, but justice for Idris and Ofe and Malik Blade. Where are they? So, let's find them. And I also love the fact that Javon Evans has now qualified for the men's Iron Survivor Challenge. Wesley also qualified with his match against Cedric Alexander, which was absolutely fantastic. And I really feel like in another world, Wesley versus Cedric Alexander really could have been like a semifinal match in the Cruiserweight Classic where we first saw Cedric Alexander. So I really feel like that match could have happened back then, and it would have been just as amazing as it was on NXT last week. But he's playing dirty now, and there's that part. But I'm glad that Javon Evans won, and he continues to solidify himself as a top young talent. I'm really here for it. He's one of my favorites because he is bouncy, and I just can't wait to see more of what he does. So I'm glad that he qualified for the challenge. So big ups to Javon. And like I said, this match was absolutely fire. If you haven't watched it already, please do. And I just want to take this time to say, even though I know Big Swole is not in this picture, she is married to Cedric Alexander, and the level of love that she shows him on social media and the level of support that she shows him on social media just cannot be like, it's just amazing. And I just love how even she gets into the story, and she said that she and after Wesley decided, that he was going to play dirty to be Cedric, she tweeted and said, "Look, keep sleep with one eye open, you B word. And I was like, oh my God, Swole, calm down. But she is passionate about her man. And that's what I love about her. So shout out to Big Swole and her love for Cedric Alexander. Um, and Cedric did have a promo after he lost his match. So apparently he's about to turn some things around in his character and be a little bit more aggressive. So maybe this is about to work out in another way. But either way, this match was fire. And I suggest you go and watch it because these two men are at the top of their game. So big ups to them. Now, moving into what I love from SmackDown. Here again, another show last week that started with a female with a women's match and ended with a women's match. B-Fab. B-Fab is somebody who I have always been a fan of from her time in Hit Row, all the way from her being released and then brought back. I have always wondered what type of capacity would she serve outside of being a manager? Like, I was always wondering, could she ever, you know, get in the ring more? Could she ever fight more and all of the above? And someone who I'm really happy who always had her back verbally or in interviews was AJ Francis, who was in Hit Row with her. And he always said that he felt like she um was always working on her craft and they need to give her a chance. They need to give her a chance. And she had a chance at WrestleMania, which was really good in that match with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits and stuff. But really, since then, we didn't really see her fight as much unless it was on social media on a live show. This past Friday, she was a participant in the Women's U.S. Championship tournament in the triple threat against Bayley and Candice LeRae. And she did so good. Her presentation was fire. Her entrance was fire. Everything about her just was just magnetic. You couldn't take your eyes off of her. And the way she performed with those two was fantastic. And I just can't wait to see more of her and more of her performance. And even though there was a part of her that seemed kind of upset that she didn't win, it's just the idea that you can see that she has been working really hard. And it just manifested in such a great performance. And I just cannot wait to see more of what she has to offer. So big ups to B Fab. Do not listen to Chelsea who called you B Flop because you're not a flop. You are literally platinum selling and it's only up from here, girl. You did that. So don't let nobody stop you. You're amazing. And I just can't wait to see more of what you have to offer as an in ring competitor. So, yeah, she did great. And yeah, another thing that BFAB did was that she got in Chelsea Green and Piper Niven's face and basically told them, like, what y'all gonna do when y'all gotta fight each other for the Women's United States Championship? Because they're also in the tournament. So either they're gonna have to fight each other or one's gonna make it and the other one isn't. But either way, that might throw a wrench in their plans as friends. So we gotta wait and see. But BFAB definitely gathered them together. Also, big ups to Chelsea Green and her new T-shirt that I'm definitely thinking about buying because I'm a big fan of old girl because she just makes me laugh every time I see her. She just makes the most of everything that she's given, and I'm pretty sure at some point she'll be women's U.S. champion at some point. But in the meantime, she's always gonna be that girl. But don't mess with B Fab, okay? Don't you dare call her B Flop. So stop. And then in the main event, you had Nia and Naomi have a barn burner of a match that ended with a bunch of shenanigans, which made me so sad. And then what made me even sadder was just watching Naomi almost have Nia dead to rights in the middle of the ring, only for Nia to kick out. And for all of these distractions to happen from Tiffany and Candice LeRae, who's trying to get on her side too. And then with Bianca and Jade getting attacked by Liv and Raquel and Bailey trying to be there for her and everything, it just felt like there was just so much going on. And I wanted Naomi to win so bad because she has proven that she can be a long-standing champion. Like she did that in TNA. when she was Trinity. She even did that a little bit when she won the SmackDown Women's title years ago. So by all means, if she were to even be the first women's US champion at this point, because she's also in that tournament, I wouldn't be mad about it either because she deserves another title because she has shown and proved her worth. But Miss Ma'am, she was this close to winning that title from Nia. It was so close, but no cigar. My girl, she did so good. She did so good. Naomi, you will always be famous. You will always be famous in my world. And I just don't please don't give up hope. Please. We're gonna get some gold around your waist, honey. Please. I don't care what we have to do. But she and Nia did fantastic in this match, and it was very hard hitting, very physical, and Naomi just continued to show and prove why she should have gold around her waist because she was able to adapt in so many ways that we had yet to see. So yeah, it was great. And then you got Miss Ma'am, who I'm gonna go in on again. Liv and Raquel, with them attacking Bianca and Jade, this woman had the audacity to post her on Instagram attacking Bianca and Jade with the song Like That by Future, Metro Boomin, and Kendrick Lamar. And then she posted it, and she had the audacity to post the part of the song that said, F the big three, it's just big me. And what made me mad is when you sing the song, I'm really like that, F the big three, that's just big me. You're dissing, of course, the big three in Bianca, Jade, and Naomi. But here's the thing when you say it's big me, it's just supposed to be just you, not you and your muscle, or you and your boyfriend, or you and the crew you stole along with said boyfriend. It's just supposed to be big you. It's supposed to be me, myself, and I, like Beyonce saying. If you're going to sing that song or use that clip, use it in the right context. Use it in the right context. You can, you can't even use that song in the context because you want to say it's just big me when you had help attacking Rhea. You had help attacking Bianca and Jade, which is why you're in the situation you're in now with War Games. So if you're going to use a rap song, use it in the right context. When Kendrick said it's just big me, he meant just him. Not him and other people, not him and J. Cole, not him and Drake, clearly. He meant just big me. If it's anything we've learned this year, is that Liv cannot operate when it's just little her. She has to operate when it's her and everybody else. You are not like that. No. Stop it. Moving on, I just had to say that because, girl, no. I'm just really happy that this tournament is happening for the Women's United States Championship. Of course, the finals will be taking place at Saturday night's main event, which will be next month in New York. I can't wait to see who will be in the finals and who will be the first ever champion. And I can't wait to see what stories they're going to concoct to feed into this title existing because this has just been one of my biggest dreams at this point, so I'm just really pumped about it. I believe they said this week is supposed to be Bianca Belair versus Chelsea Green versus Blair Davenport. So we have that match, and then of course the other matches that will be happening later on. So big ups to this tournament. I'm glad that this is happening because on social media there was someone who did tweet and say, would you rather it be a tournament? Would you rather it be a ladder match or whatever? And I actually said that I would love for it to be a tournament because it would give more matches and more visibility to the women fighting for it. So here we are. A tournament exists. Words have power, guys. So yeah, I'm just pumped that this is happening. And I just need for Zelina to get in the thick of things because that's my girl. So, yeah. And of course, we have the change in attitude when it comes to the SmackDown men of the Street Profits. They are about their father's business and they are wanting to get the tag titles back because they have not held gold, they said, in almost, I believe, 3 or 4 years, which is crazy to think about because everything just happens so quickly now when it comes to wrestling. But the fact that they haven't held gold in so long and now they're very disgruntled and they had a great match up against the Motor City Machine Guns last week was just absolutely enthralling and it was really great. Only to have it ruined by Tommaso Ciampa coming out there and trying to, get angry at them for skipping the line. And then of course, Alex Shelley and oh my god, I'm blanking on his name. I'm sorry. Um Both of the Motor City Machine Guns came to the defense of the Street Profits, but they didn't like that. They slapped them in the face. So the tag division is heating up on SmackDown, and I'm really here for the Street Profits with their change of attitude because how come we're not on top? How come we're not getting these opportunities? How come we seem to be getting overlooked for these new people? Like why? So I'm here for it and I'm always here for the progression of Montez Ford because he has everything he needs to be a success in this business and so does Angelo. So yeah, I'm here for their change of attitude. And then, of course, you have the undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes coming out on SmackDown without his three-piece suit on. He came out there with his new American Nightmare t-shirt on with the sleeves cut off, ready to handle some business because he's mad at Kevin Owens for attacking Randy Orton. And the crazy part about Kevin Owens attacking Randy Orton and leaving him out of action at this point this year is because last year, around this time, we saw Randy Orton come back for War Games, after coming back from that injury and that surgery that he had, which left him out for a year and a half. So the idea of him being out now around this time, after all of that, it's just crazy. The timing of it is nuts. So because Cody Rhodes respects and loves Randy Orton like a brother, because Randy basically helped raise him in the business, he is ready to set Kevin Owens on fire, and I don't blame him. So I'm more than sure at some point they're gonna fight each other again, and if they do fight each other again, I'm pretty sure it's gonna have some type of extreme stipulation because Cody Rhodes is a crazy man. He will look death straight in the face and slap it and say, "Try me." So, yeah, Cody is not here to be Bishop. He is here to go back to Georgia because he's looking for a soul to steal. So, yeah, I'm here for this version of Cody Rhodes. He got in Nick Aldis's face and told him, "Look, I'm just waiting on you. I'm waiting on you." So, I'm just here for it. I'm here for this version of Cody. It's great. But dang it, Bronson Reed being the fifth man in the new bloodline was something I was not expecting at all. This knocked the wind out of me Friday night. And it's still knocking the wind out of me now because everybody and their mama was fantasy booking The Rock coming back in so many different scenarios. So when Bronson Reed popped up and he decided to start attacking the OG bloodline, baby, what an impression. What a crazy impression. This, my friends, is how you make the newer stars by having them attack everybody and their mama, including Roman Reigns, the big dog. Like, it's nuts. It's really nuts. I know we all call him the tribal chief now, but just seeing the big dog just will always stick in my mind because that was a long period of time. So the fact that now the new bloodline has Bronson Reed on their side, this has left Roman with only one option to make a phone call and call somebody, right? But on the end of SmackDown, he tries to call the wise man and his phone is disconnected, which leaves Roman Reigns absolutely distraught. And that's how the episode of SmackDown ended, out of the ring. So, baby, the drama is drama-ing. But of course, on Monday Night Raw tonight, we saw Bronson and Seth Rollins fight um for the final time. Well, not for the final time, but we saw them fight again. And the Bloodline decided to get involved, and then the Usos and Sammy decided to fight on behalf of Seth, and they proceeded to attack Seth a whole lot more with Bronson Reed. So I guess at this point, Seth is probably not going to resist being a part of Team OG Bloodline now, and we're going to have our men's War Games match. So, yeah, all kinds of enthralling stuff going on in the world of professional wrestling. So, that's all I liked in professional wrestling last week and this week mixed in together. So, now we're going to move into talking about what I've got going on. So, you can watch Steph and Cat Talk WoW, the best WoW post show on the interwebs with me and Katrina from NCAT We Trust every Wednesday, unless otherwise stated, at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on my YouTube, the Hardy Wrestling Podcast YouTube, or her YouTube. We're going to go live more than likely. And then if you can't watch it live, you can watch it later on our YouTube channels. Subscribe to us so you can be notified every time we go live or every time a video goes up. So you won't miss us covering the action of WoW Women of Wrestling Superheroes. We love those girls, and we're going to continue to big them up in their new season. And we're going to continue to cover the action, the new superheroes, and all of the drama and the tea that's taking place this season, because it's a lot. So join us as we go over all of that amazing tea, and also be on the lookout for any interviews and stuff that we might have going on with the WoW superheroes as well. It's great. Also, if you are looking for a podcast host, guest, writer, commentator, or panelist for your wrestling thing or your Comic Con, know that you can email me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, at hardywrestlingpodcast@gmail.com, or DM me on Instagram or X, and also on the new app. I can't remember the name of it. The blue social app with the butterfly, at Queen Steph Hardy. Know that you could DM me there, and then we can talk about rates, times, and all of the above, and we can make it happen. I love talking to people about wrestling and also other things pop culture as well. So, just let me know so we can figure out timing and scheduling. And of course, if you want to be on my show, you can contact me as well, and we can make it happen, because I'm here to create a safe space in wrestling for everybody. So if you want to talk about it, promote your work, promote your wrestling career, and all of the above, we can do that. I can help tell your story, and I will share your clips and let everybody know who you are and big you up and all of the above. So just email or DM your girl, because I'm here for you. Also, read my works on dailyddt.com. My most recent article is called The Four Pillars of the Future for WWE's Women's Division. I loved writing it. It came out on November 1st. So please read that article if you have not gotten a chance to already. And read all of my other stuff that I've written since last year. I'm really happy about that. My anniversary for my first men's article just passed. So please read my article that I wrote about Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes and their feud as it took place. So yeah, I'm growing in this writing thing. I'll probably write one more article before the end of the year, because I am feeling a little bit inspired by some events and stuff. So just please just be on the lookout for any articles that I have. And as always, thank you to Fansided for giving me a platform to get my thoughts out there. And I know you hate to see me coming, because I definitely have more than 500 words to write, but you let me write them anyway. So thank you. So yeah, that's all. That's all I've got going on so far. And of course, if you want to continue to keep up with me, you can follow me on Instagram at Queen Steph Hardy, or on Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy as well. And you never know, I might be in your city, I might be in my city, but either way, I'm gonna be around somewhere, making moves, being myself, and just trying to be the best that I can possibly be at this point in life. So, of course, this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl, Stephanie Hardy. And until next time, Who you came to see? Me. Do 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 do. Don't make me get up out my seat. Bye, y'all.